Hello students, this is your English teacher Mrs. Shanthi of KV Ashoknagar. Today we are going to read a new poem from class 10 English reader First Flight. The title of the poem is Fog by Carl Sandburg. Carl Sandburg was an American poet, writer and an editor. He won 3 Pulitzer Prizes, 2 for his poetry and 1 for writing a wonderful biography of Abraham Lincoln. Carl Sandburg was born on 6 January 1878 and died at the age of 89 on 22nd July 1967. He was widely regarded as a major figure in contemporary literature. Chicago poems, Cornhuskers, Smoke and Steel are some of his famous works. Fog is a short poem of 6 lines. It is split into 2 stanzas. It's a free verse poem and hence doesn't have a regular rhyme scheme. It is an extended metaphor. The poet uses the metaphor of a cat to describe the fog. The fog comes in, stays, and engulfs everything in it silently, almost imperceptibly. Before moving on, it sits looking over the harbor and the city before disappearing in feline mystery. Now let me ask you a few questions. Have you seen clouds taking shapes of a dog, a tree, or any other object? These do not remain in the same shape but disintegrates quickly to form another new figure. Now let us proceed to the poem and its explanation. The fog comes on little cat feet. It sits looking over harbor and city, and it haunches and then moves on. The poet is describing fog. Fog is a thick cloud of tiny water droplets present in atmosphere. It is generally seen during the winter season. Here, the poet describes the advancement of fog towards the city and the harbor. He says the fog comes like a cat comes on its little feet. This means the fog advances towards the city very slowly and calmly, just like a cat. One never knows how and when the fog will enter the city. Therefore, fog is compared to the cat which enters our home in an unpredictable manner. Next, he says that the fog sits over the whole of the city as a cat sits silently by folding her legs behind itself and looks around the nearby places and things. Similarly, it seems that the fog silently covers the whole of the city and the harbor and is sitting over them looking around like a cat. After a while, the fog leaves the city and moves on. The poet says so because it's a natural phenomenon that fog does not stay at a place for long and leaves the place after a few hours. So here also the poet says that just like a cat, the fog leaves the place very silently without being noticed by anyone. Now let us move on to the theme of the poem. Fog is probably Carl Sandburg's best known poem. It was first published in Chicago Poems in 1960. Fog is a poem that reflects Sandburg's interest in the natural world. It beautifully captures those moments when the fog came moving in over the harbor waters. The poet gives a powerful image of the fog through a metaphorical cat. The poet sees the fog as a cat that comes on its silent, tiny feet, as cats do while they are stalking. Like a cat, the fog slips and slides in silently. The poem contains the dual imagery of fog and the cat, the fog turning into a cat and the cat morphing back into the fog. The poet is introducing the idea that the fog is alive and an entity. The poem also describes about the attitude of man towards nature and how change is an inevitable part of a natural process. Now moving on to the literary aspects of the poem, as already mentioned in the beginning, the poem has no fixed rhyme scheme and the poetic devices used in the poem are metaphor enjambment, and personification. A few extracts have also been solved with answers, and for a detailed study you may also refer to the Diksha app for the NCERT question and answers, MCQ and VBQ question and answers. Video is useful for you. Thank you, children.